Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Bullet Sports Spotlights. This week, we'll be profiling the Bullets baseball team. And joining me today is head coach John Campo. Coach Campo, welcome. I'm excited to talk about some baseball this week. How about you?
Good to be here. Good to be here. Pitchers and catchers in MLB starting in Florida, Arizona is always a sign that spring's on the way.
I was getting the results from the Grapefruit League starting off yesterday. Unfortunately, my Braves took a loss against the Rays, but hopefully it's just a sign of things to come. Hopefully the young guys start pulling things together and we see some good results out there.
Good.
So, Coach, you're entering your—
As a Mets fan, I'm not happy. I'm not pulling for your Braves.
That's okay. As a resident Mets fan, that is perfectly okay. The NL East, I think it's the best division in baseball right now. A lot of excitement going in there. And we've got lots of Mets, Phillies, Braves fans in the department itself. So it'll be a fun season from an MLB perspective on the Gettysburg campus as well. Coach, 35 years at Gettysburg. I'm sure it doesn't seem like that long to you. Of course, you're the all-time wins leader, over 600 wins, 622 to be exact. First year at Gettysburg, 1985, of course, as the assistant coach on the football and baseball squads too. And 1987, of course, you took over as head coach of the baseball program, won a MAC title in your first year, led the team to NCAAs the year after, and you've had a great, successful career, of course. Although this year, of course, 2021, we're looking at kind of an unprecedented year. You know, looking back at last year, off to a great start. The offensive numbers were unbelievable in those first 8 games last year. And, you know, COVID came, kind of interrupted the season and what we were able to do out there. We're back at it this year. You've had the team all through the fall. You had freshmen on campus working with the upperclassmen at home. And now we've got a whole big squad out there in the field house taking batting practice, hopefully getting out on Kirchhoff Field, which you can see behind me in the very near future. It's a little soggy out there now. But talk about just what the team has been going through and how you guys have been preparing yourselves to be ready basically on a moment's notice.
Yeah, well, it's this whole thing, it's always a process. I always say that. Every year this process starts all over again. And in a normal year, the process always begins in the fall. We've always been kind of an open tryout program. Any kid who comes to school here can come out for baseball. We're going to give everybody a fair shot. And so I've always used the fall season as just, one big tryout period with just, a lot of intra-squad games. You got to watch kids play and given plenty of, playing opportunities and a lot of games. And then at the end of the fall, making some initial squad decisions, then those kids going into an off-season conditioning program, and then the actual preparation of pulling a team together to get ready to compete, in the Centennial Conference and our overall one-loss record will start, normally in our preseason in February. And that's when the real work is done, getting the team ready to play and to not just to play. I always tell the kids this: we're not just getting ready to play. We got to get ready to win. And there's a big difference, to feel that as a coach that you've got a team properly prepared, that they can go out and win. They have everything that they need and have had all the work that they've needed to do that stuff. This year's been totally different because our fall started out was different. We only had our freshman kids here and a few of the upperclassmen, but that went very well. Those kids, there was a good group of talent in that group. We had an excellent fall season. We had enough kids to be able to inter-squad every day. And it was actually a very, very good fall. Now, the issue is that, we didn't have any of our upperclassmen except a few kids. A lot of those freshman kids are not here now because they didn't come back for the spring semester. The school's policies in terms of how many kids could be on campus and whatnot. Now, we do have a good group, but we don't have all of them. And we have our upper class kids back. So the process got disrupted a little bit in that way in terms of, roster and developing the situation and whatnot. So the guys that we have right now, and we have a good group, we have a 40 plus man roster right now, have been working hard. We started, 2 weeks ago. We've had 2 solid weeks of practice and we're starting to pull it all together at this point. Not sure yet when we're opening up and what our season's going to look like, but I just keep saying, look, we've got to prepare like any team would to be prepared to, to compete and win. And whatever is decided that's going to, give us, what the conference decides, any other situations, we'll deal with those things as they come. We haven't heard that yet. But I said we've been practicing hard for 2 weeks, mostly inside. Was able to get the outfielders outside a couple of times for some things, but starting to with the basic steps of putting the team together. We've had 2 solid weeks of practice, and hopefully we're getting ready to start our third week. The attitude of the kids has been outstanding. They're enthused every day, coming to practice, working hard, and hopefully that's going to continue, through the rest of the spring. And we're just hopeful that we do get an opportunity to play and compete.
Well, there certainly has to be something to be said about getting into the batting cage and tucking out some anxiety and stress, hitting some balls too. I'd imagine the guys like doing that to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about some of the guys coming back. Obviously, you've got a nice group of seniors. You've got some other upperclassmen on campus now. How nice is it to have that leadership, those guys back on campus to kind of help with the team mentality overall?
Well, it's critical. Senior leadership is always critical. Okay. So having these guys, and biggest thing like with these guys is, as juniors, they kind of had their season last year, had the plug pulled on it after 8 games. They're really dedicating to wanting to, dedicated to our seniors from last year, but really wanting to pick up where we left off, because we were on the verge of a great year last year. And it just didn't happen through circumstances. And so these guys really want to be able to, pick up where we left off last year and, hopefully have a great year. But, the leadership that they're exhibiting, not only, for themselves, they want to have a great year, but also showing the younger kids, hey, look, here's how it's done, and here's what we have to do if we want to have a chance to achieve our goals. And so the senior leadership's been outstanding, and we got a great group of guys.
Well, that was a great segue, John, because my next question is about the team goals. Now, as you stated earlier, we don't have a formal schedule yet. We're still working on that with the conference, trying to figure all that out. Conditions permit. That's kind of the tagline that we're trying to deal with now with the pandemic, and making sure that we're good as a campus, as a community, making sure our opponents are set with their mitigation and health and safety protocols as well. But the goals for the season, once we can get back out there on the diamond, what do those look like for you guys? You said it earlier, you're not preparing to compete, you're preparing to win.
Yeah. And so right now, we as coaches are focused on developing a team so that we can put a competitive winning team on the field whenever that is. Like I said, now the hard part right now is we don't have a schedule yet. The conference hasn't made any decisions. I've talked to some other schools about some potential non-conference type games, but everything right now is still up in the air. There's nothing firm. So the first, we're going to have to see if the conference decides that, hey, we're going to have a competitive conference season with a conference championship, then our goal is, we want to win the conference championship, right? If it's something other than that, whatever it is, our goal is to compete and win and put the best team we can on the field and try and win each game and have the best record that we can. But a lot of it, like I said, right now it depends on what the conference decides before we can determine what actually will be at stake. So.
And hopefully we hear that news soon. We are definitely waiting on pins and needles, of course, in the athletic department. John, one of the favorite parts of the Bullets baseball team, and one we always seem to win at, is community service and Take ALS Yard. Of course, it's been going on since 2013. It's a really great program. I think we've raised over $70,000 over the past 8 years with it too. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and some of the leaders that you've had kind of manage that program through the years?
Yeah, we've had, we started this in 2013, and I became aware of, Tommy Kirchhoff's situation, who had contracted ALS. And, the Kirchhoff family, Bill and Jean Kirchhoff have been great supporters of the college, but in particular baseball. Our field is named after them. And we knew what they were going through and dealing with. And I actually was reading a newspaper. I was in the Harrisburg Patriot, and I saw where there was a football player at Penn State who from Tommy's high school, Adam Brenneman, and was a tight end. And he was dedicating, his season to Tommy and raising money and all this, that kind of stuff. And I read it and I said, this is pretty cool. This kid is, this is something. So I had a senior meeting the next week with our seniors, and I pitched the idea to them about, look, what do you guys think about doing something that we can show support to the Kirchhoff family, for this? And it was Nate Simon, who, Nate was a great player for us. I was conference player of the year and that sort of thing. He immediately took charge, says, I said, he immediately took charge, said, I want to do this. And so Nate took over from there and started the whole thing, Take ALS Yard. That was his, what they came up with to brand the program. And we've had, Nate was our chairman for the first 2 years. And then we've had a lot of great guys through the years that have done that. And then this year it's, Eric Wortman and Danny Ball are our co-chairman. They're doing an outstanding job with it. But we've raised, over the years now, we've raised over $75,000 that goes to an outfit called Project ALS. Project ALS is they're located in New York City. They're a group dedicated to raising funds for ALS research and also serve as a support group for families that are dealing with this. So we've raised over $75,000 to date. Our goal this year is to get it over the $100,000 mark. And this year, Bill and Jean Kirchhoff, have agreed to match all donations up to $15,000. So if we can raise $15,000, that's going to get us to 30, and we'll be well over the $100,000 mark since the inception of Take ALS Yard. And that is our goal. Regardless of what happens this year on the field, we're gonna raise money, and our goal is to get that 100K. Take ALS Yard will not take a sabbatical this year.
And of course, we'll have that information out there right now on GettysburgSports.com. We have the link up, and we'll be doing a story on that later in the week too. And John, I know one of the things I always think about with Take ALS Yard is the day of the event. That we always have it during a home game, usually a Saturday doubleheader, and it's always like the atmosphere just seems to pick up a little bit. I know 2 years ago, I was just thinking about this, played Ursinus in a doubleheader, 2 incredible games. We won the first one by a run. They won the second one by 2 runs. They were back and forth battles, but I remember Matt Muir hitting the walk-off single, 2-run single to win the opener, which leads me to my next question, kind of our finale here. And this is going to be probably the toughest question, Coach. What are some of your favorite moments out there on the diamond over the last 35 years?
I had a heads up on this question, and I picked 2, and that was one of them, because I'm going to tell you why. We've been doing the Take ALS Yard for every year, right? And it's always between games of the doubleheader, normally are late in the season. If you don't win that first game, it puts such a damper on the whole thing, because like you said, we've got a lot of people there. Normally, the Kirchhoffs are there, Kirchhoff family. A lot of times the Borman family's there because, by the way, I want to add that also Bob Borman passed away from ALS also. And while the campaign was originally started in support, with Tommy Kirchhoff and the Kirchhoff family, after Bob Borman, not long after that, contracted ALS and passed away, we dedicated the campaign to him also, because the Borman family's also been great supporters of the college and Gettysburg baseball program. And Bob and Diana Borman's son, Rob, was our 2005 team captain, was an outstanding pitcher for us. So what I was saying is, like, you got the Kirchhoffs here, you got the Borman family here, you got people driving down from Project ALS in New York, and And if you don't win that first game, it just puts a kind of damper on that whole thing. Okay. So, like you said, we're winning. We're going to the ninth inning. We got a lead against their sign. It's, well, we can't hold the lead. They go ahead in the top of the ninth. And it's kind of like, all right, yeah. Well, when we come back in the bottom of the ninth, win the game in dramatic fashion, like a walk-off single. Kids all run on the field, big celebration. And that just kind of carried over to the whole halftime, not halftime, the between games of the doubleheader festivities, that we have for Take ALS Yard. So that was one of my favorite moments because of that. Because you go from you're up here, you're down here, then you're back up there emotionally with the whole thing. And so that's one of them. The second, I look back and we've had so many big wins. We've had so many outstanding individual performances, record-setting performances, and I couldn't name them all here. I have too much time, and I don't want to leave anything out and that sort of thing. But we've had so many of those. But there's one that sticks out to me, and that goes back to 2007. Okay, our 2017 was an outstanding team. Got off to a great start. At one point, they were 16-3. An outstanding senior class. My son Mark was on that team. Brian Pernice, Andrew Freeberger, Joe Bonnier, Ben Carey, Chase Straub. Outstanding senior class. They'd been in the playoffs 2 years earlier. Missed it their junior year, senior year. They really wanted to get back to the conference playoffs and got off to a great start. We're going into the last weekend. We got a doubleheader with Haverford at home. We gotta get at least a split to get into the playoffs, right? So we lose the first game in extra innings, 4-3. So now, okay, second game is a must-win game. We're down 9-0 after 3 innings. All right. Then to top it off, our first baseman, Matty Stilitano, on a play at first base, ends up separating his shoulder. And he's laying on the field. We got to get him off and everything. And so we're down 9-0. We lose Stilitano. Our backup first baseman was Joe Bonnier, who happened to be in the DH spot that day. Okay. So we're like, okay, we're down 9 runs. I don't want to move him to first base. We lose the DH, can't have the pitcher hit. We can't take any bats out of the lineup. So Nate Bashaw, my assistant at the time, comes up to me and says, Coach, Kenny Stone played first base in high school. Kenny Stone's a pitcher for us for several years, and hadn't taken batting practice in 2 years probably. All right. So I went up to him and said, Kenny, did you go in and play first? He goes, yeah, I'll be fine. I said, okay, look, if you got any questions about anything, just ask. So Stone goes in, ends up going 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. We come back. Mike Backus hits a home run. We end up coming back and winning 18-15. And it was one of those where you're talking about going from here, we're down 9-0, and I'm standing out in the third base coach's box, and I'm thinking, all right, how am I going to talk to these kids after this game? I mean, it's like, and I'm saying, I can't believe we're not even going to make the conference playoffs, right, after such a great start. And we came back, we won that game, and that was great. I mean, so if you ask me, because it was a team effort, I could point out all the great individual efforts and days that we had, but because it was such a team effort and a guy who, I took a pitcher and stuck him at first base and hadn't had batting practice, I know all year, and probably before that, just goes 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, and we end up winning the game and getting into the conference playoffs. So those were the two that I thought about because they were number one, because of ALS Yard, and because it was team effort. And the same thing with the 2007 Haverford game.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I don't know if we've actually talked about that one specifically in the last 14 years.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about some of the other ones, and we've had some great moments together over the last 14 years, but that was right before I got here, 2 months before I arrived on campus. Mm-hmm. Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, so that was one where, like, I said, we're down 9-0 after 3 innings, and I'm like, this isn't our day, and then all of a sudden, we turned it around, and it was a great team effort. Great team effort. A lot of guys contributing, but like I said, in particular, Kenny going 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. I hadn't taken batting practice in over probably 2 years. And Mike Backus, who was a freshman for us at the time, was a great player. Hit a big 2-run homer, and we came back and won.
Well, it sounds like you killed 2 birds with 1 stone, filling the hole at first base and getting in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, Coach Campo, I'm conscious of your time and getting this team prepared to win this spring. Do you have anything else to add before I let you go for the day?
No, I'd just like to thank everybody over the years for all the support. I know you were being very gracious to me early on about my career here. And I'd just like to say that, it's been my honor to be here this long. It's been a great situation for obviously me and my family. But, you brought up the number of wins and that kind of thing. Any success I've had as a head coach is the people that are most responsible for that are my players and assistant coaches. I've been fortunate to have a lot of great players and a lot of great assistant coaches. And, like I said, that number of years I've been able to be here, the success that we've had is they're the people that really deserve most of the credit. So thank you.
Hey, you've managed a phenomenal program.
As well as all of our support staff people, yourself, Bob Kenworthy, Braden Snyder in athletic communications, and, athletic training staff, the equipment staff. No head coach is doing it by himself. If you don't have all that support or athletic administration, what I do or what I've done isn't possible to achieve. So I want to make sure that people recognize that. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Coach. We've certainly spent a lot of hours out there behind the backstop before the press box was built at that little table, and rain, snow, sunshine, and all.
You talk about how far we've come. We're live streaming games, instant stats, this and that. And I say, I always have lunch with Bob Kenworthy. I try at least once a year, and I say, Bob, I remember the days when I'm pulling the bus over on the side of the road on our way back from somewhere, and I'm in a phone booth, with the scorebook, trying to give him the results of the game. And he'd be like, can you go over that 4th inning again? The team's on the bus. I'm in a phone booth. And it's, we've come a long way since then. So just trying to get the score into the Harrisburg Patriot and Gettysburg Time the next day. That's what we're trying to do. So we've come a long way.
For sure. And we are definitely looking forward to getting those scores on the website, on social media, and in the paper as soon as they happen this spring. We're keeping our fingers crossed that we hear some news soon. Coach Campo, excited about the upcoming baseball season, excited to see the guys out there swinging and throwing the ball again too. I want to say thank you for taking the time for today's Bullets Sports Spotlight. So again, my name is Coach Jewett, Director of Athletic Communications, signing off for head coach John Campo. Until next time, go Bullets.